This is KUGAN CASSIUS for IFL TV in association with MTK Global. We're in New York City, St. Patrick's Day. I'm joined by Frampton. What a great day to do an interview.
Yeah, how you doing, mate?
I'm all good, obviously, we're here for Michael Conlan and Paddy Barnes fights later on this evening from the Garden. Yeah, talk to me a little bit about that. How do you think they're going to fare?
Yeah, I think that both of them will do all right. Decent tests for both guys. I'm looking forward to the fights. They look in good shape. It's going to be a good night, and looking forward to soaking up the atmosphere in here. I've seen boxing here before on TV. I've never actually been to one of the fights, so it looks pretty good. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a good night.
Okay. You have some news coming up soon, which we're not going to talk about at the moment. We're going to talk about that later because it's not ready to go out yet. But so we're kind of going to come back to that. Yeah. First of all, we was in Jack Dempsey's last night watching the Spence-Garcia fight. What were your thoughts? A very, very one-sided fight, and this whole kind of weight difference really kind of showed yesterday.
Yeah, look, it was one-sided, as you said. I give Mikey Garcia one round, the second round, I think, and it was me being pretty generous, I think. As the fight went on, it was just a case of Earl Spence beating him up, and it's a wee bit of a cliche, but normally a good big man beats a good wee man, and that's exactly what happened there. Just too big for him. And that was it. But Mikey Garcia, I have to give him credit. He had a go. He tried against a big guy, and it's not as if he went up to welterweight and picked a weak champion. He picked the best welterweight champion there is, in my opinion, at the minute. And yeah, actually, Terence Crawford's in that bracket as well, so he's one of them anyway. Yeah, I had a go, but it's just too small.
We've seen this in the past, and I suppose, when it's a weighting difference, but two weights, and we've seen it with like Khan, with Canelo, Brook, with Golovkin. Ultimately, the old cliche of a good big one beats a small good one is kind of true.
Yeah, it is, and like you have to think, like Mikey Garcia, he was a featherweight. He won a world title as a featherweight at one point, and Earl Spence has always been a big welterweight, and that's just the difference. That's why there is weight divisions in this sport. They keep things fair, and it was just, a lot of people. I've seen a lot of people changing their opinion and thinking that Mikey before the fight was going to potentially win, but I never thought that for a second. I appreciate him as a boxer. He's a fantastic fighter, brilliant fighter, but just too small against a very good Earl Spence.
How's life for Mr. Carl Frampton recently?
All right, man. Taking it easy, taking over, doing a wee bit of training, bits and pieces. Trying to keep my belly off mainly, just nothing too serious yet, and all good. Pretty decent, relaxed at the minute.
Would you say the defeat to Warrington is kind of out of your system now, or will that not happen until you're back in the ring?
I don't know. No, it's. I suppose I'm probably over it, and I watched it there a few weeks ago, and I'm glad I did watch it because I needed to do it because I'm going to continue on my career, and watching it just annoyed me more than anything. Like, it didn't. It was the first kind of 3 rounds were pretty brutal, but in my head, like, the fight was a much more brutal fight from start to finish, and I think you take the first 3 rounds out of the equation, it wasn't that brutal of a fight. He won the fight convincingly, but with simple changes, I think that's a fight that you could flip the result on its head. But credit to him, it just annoyed me, and I was annoyed with my own performance.
People kind of pondered what you would do after that, and obviously some people thought that you kind of, having achieved what you've achieved in the sport already, might decide to call it a day. Has that kind of played on your mind, what you were going to do, or you always kind of focused that you would fight again?
No, I think in the change room after the fight, like, I was a retired fighter, and for a number of weeks, without actually mentioning anything, in my head I was a retired fighter, but that's only changed. I went to Dubai with missus and kids and Jimmy Moore and stuff were out there, and I just sat there and spoke about things. And I don't want to finish on a fight like that because I have had a good career. But the thing is, like, I looked at it this way: if I had been in training camp and been getting beaten up by sparring partners, and then had a fight like that and lost convincingly, I think I'd have probably retired. But I performed well in sparring and stuff. It was just a bad night, and what surprised me was Josh Warrington's punching power, and that was it. It's a bad night, and I feel like I wouldn't like to finish on a performance like that because I know there's a lot more.
A lot of people's fight of the year was Josh Warrington after obviously claiming the title from Lee Selby back in May of 2018, and then to go on to beat you. He's really had like a wonderful part of his career, which is sort of coming together now for him.
Yeah, no, you look at what he's done. Like a few fights ago, fought Kiko Martinez, and you know there's an argument that he might have lost that fight, but he's beat a very good fighter in Lee Selby, and he's beat another very good fighter, if I do say so myself, and me. And yeah, he's had a fantastic year. He deserves credit. His whole team deserves credit. I think that he's fighting Galahad next, obviously. I think that's another fight that he'll win. And yeah, he's a very, very good fighter.
The fight you just mentioned there, Warrington against Galahad, is set to be announced on Tuesday officially for their press conference. But yeah, Kid Galahad's put himself in that position by becoming mandatory. Obviously, he's had a lot to say in the past about yourself and Warrington, etc. But do you give him any chance in that fight, in your opinion?
He's not a bad fighter. He's skillful, but the thing is, looking at his career, you know, I hear good stories about him sparring, and he spars really well and stuff, but he hasn't done anything yet on a fight, and he hasn't fought anyone. So it's hard to really get any. You go on what Josh Warrington's done recently. Where's the evidence to say that Kid Galahad beats him? That's what I'm going off at the minute. I just think he's going to be too strong, a bit too relentless for him. He's going to bully him, and I think he'll beat him. But Galahad is a good boxer. I have to give him a bit of credit for that, but I just fancy Josh in this fight.
I think I saw on a BT clip that you kind of want Warrington to win that fight. Is that because of a dislike towards Kid Galahad, or?
I don't really like him. I think he's a bit of a fucking asshole, and you know I don't have a lot of time for drug cheats, if I'm being honest. And yeah, that's one of the main reasons why I would love to see Josh Warrington beat him up and win the fight. I think he will win the fight, but I would like him to win the fight as well.
If you could kind of map out, and I hope I'm not out of line when I say this, kind of the last phase of your career, what's an ideal situation for you now in terms of opponent-wise and how many number of fights?
Well, it's difficult to answer. I don't want to give too much away with what you mentioned at the start of the interview. So if I say what I think may happen in my career, then that may give away that announcement. So I want to be a world champion again. That's the thing. So there's a few fighters around that are world champions. I'm not one of them. So Warrington, Valdez, Santa Cruz, Gary Russell. I'd like to fight one of them and potentially maybe have a fight before I fight one of them boys. But I'm ready to jump right back in at the deep end as well. So I just want to be a world champion again.
You've been heavily linked with a fight with Oscar Valdez. I know, obviously, Frank was at one point. Frank Warren was trying to make that fight for Josh Warrington. Obviously, got the mandatory of Kid Galahad. But is it Valdez over Santa Cruz? Because Santa Cruz is a fight that obviously you've spoken about since that second fight.
Well, to be honest, I think I would take either or. You know, I'm not in the position now as someone who's just lost my last fight to be picky and choosy when it comes to who I want to fight. So if I get offered a fight against either of those guys, I'm going to take it. But I think, you know, the Leo fight, it should have happened already. You know what I mean? What are we waiting around for? Why is the third fight not happened? And I can't wait around on him and let him dictate my career. So If Oscar Valdez wants to fight, then that's a fight that I'm very interested in as well.
Definitely interesting times. We saw, I don't know if you've actually seen it, you would have known about it, Darren Till suffered a devastating defeat to Jorge Masvidal yesterday in London at the UFC. Have you watched it, and what do you make of it?
I haven't seen the fight. I've seen the knockout. It's all over social media. It was a brutal knockout, as brutal as I've ever seen. Knocked out cold, and then he took another smack on the mouth while he's unconscious on the ground. It's a serious sport. It's a tough sport, and but these are things that happen. Everyone knows this can happen as fighters when you go into the ring or the octagon, and yeah, it was a brutal one. It was a hard one to watch, and you know, it's one of them ones that's a knockout where you kind of potentially think, is he ever going to be the same again after one like that? You know what I mean? I don't know, but I wish him well, whatever he wants to do next.
Definitely wish him well. What's the one thing you regret in your career?
Don't know. You always put me on the spot with these questions that I can't answer. One thing that I regret in my career, not going to MTK much sooner. They've been good to me, and I've been looked after, and got me some big fights, and well paid, and that's that's one of them.
What's the biggest thing you've learnt in your career so far?
What are you getting at here? What do you want me to say? Biggest thing I've learnt in my career, don't underestimate Josh Warrington's power. And you want me to say something else than we do, but I'm not going to get myself in.
I'm not asking you to say anything. I'm just saying what is the in the career. No, absolutely not.
On the floor for me to say something to get myself into trouble.
How dare you, Carl Frampton?
No, it's I don't know. I don't want to say anything just in case to get myself into trouble.
Fair enough. I'm not going to push it. I'm just throwing something in there and seeing what comes back. But yeah, are you itching to kind of get back into it now?
Yeah, well, yeah. I've got this court case coming up in May with Cycling Promotions and Barry McGuigan, and I want to get that behind me. And just, it's nothing, I'm not worried about it or anything, but I just feel like it's going to be a court case. It's going to take 2 weeks out of my life, and I can't really be in the middle of a training camp when that's going on. So I want to put that to bed, sort it out, and then push on with my career. And yeah, I'm itching to get back.
I don't want to be too pushy about that, but I'm assuming that there's that situation regarding that court case you can't really speak about.
No, no, I can't say a lot really at the minute, apart from the fact that I have a court case coming up. So that's what I'll say. But it'll all come out in court, you know, and it'll be public knowledge. And yeah, again, I just wanna put it to bed.
Obviously, whatever we're speaking about there is already kind of out in the public about, you know, it's not a secret that you're having a court case.
No, not at all. Yeah, it's public knowledge, and it's approaching, I think, 13th of May for 2 weeks in Belfast. There'll be a lot of media attention around it back home, so yeah, it'll be probably a stressful couple of weeks, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I can appreciate you do want to kind of get that out of the way and kind of focus on what's important to you, your boxing career.
It would be difficult to be involved in a training camp or be getting ready for a fight while that's kind of going on. You know, you'll be in court most days, well, every day for 2 weeks. And after court, you'll be talking about the next day it's going to happen, I'm sure, with your legal team. So, yeah, I just want to get it sorted and finished.
Okay, thank you for that update. You've been doing a little bit of shopping with Paddy this morning in New York.
I went out to try and buy the kids something and the missus something, and we walked into the middle of the New York Marathon. We couldn't cross the street, so the shop that I wanted to go to, 2 shops I wanted to go to were on the opposite side of the road, but weren't allowed to cross, so we just came back home. I haven't done anything. So what day are we now? Sunday. I go home tomorrow. I need to get the presents tomorrow morning before I leave. Leaving it tight.
Is there literally murders if you come back empty-handed?
No, there's not. I've got a wife who never asks for anything. She's not a very material person, but I like to buy them presents. And I'm out here on my own, you know what I mean? So it's like you kind of have to bring something back.
I'm not sure really women really kind of grasp this. If you don't ask, you tend to get more.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it? Yeah. So it's strange. No, she does. She's like, no, she's a good girl. She doesn't ask for a lot, but I'll try and get her something nice, and hopefully, fuck me, what is this? This is like a. What are we talking about here? What I'm banned? This is just nonsense. Why are we talking about this?
That's all right. It's good. It's good. Like this is stuff you tweet about and stuff like this. You tweet some random stuff as well, Carl.
Like what?
Yeah.
Like what?
Listen, do you know what? Before actually, sometimes when I see you, obviously, listen, we don't kind of socialise, but I read your Twitter and then I think, is this Frampton writing this stuff sometimes?
Why? What do you mean?
You are quite outspoken and quite opinionated and kind of on a variety of different topics on social media, aren't you?
It depends what it is. Sometimes I try to be. I feel like I think that I'm funny sometimes, and I say yeah. I feel like I'm honest as well. I say something every now and again, but it irks me when people have a go. I always dig the people when people give me a bit of grief. I would sometimes write back, but it is what it is.
It's a mad world because you might get 100 good comments, someone saying something.
You like a comment that's nice, or you read it and you go, oh, that's nice, but you don't react to it. And someone calls you a dickhead and you get stuck into them. That's the way it is.
Somebody called me a packy yesterday on Twitter. And
you're Sri Lankan, aren't you?
Correct. Well done. Correct. And I looked on the profile and he was like tweeting about being a white supremacist. Easy for you to say. And
hold on. What does that mean?
I couldn't get the words out. Supremacist. What is it?
White fuck, I can't say it now. You wanker. You've made me.
I wasn't calling you one. Anyway, he was that way inclined, shall we say. I can't believe I can't get these words out. But had no relation to boxing at all. So I don't know why he even saw my video of me running up the pacing up the Rocky Steps in Philadelphia, and he just commented underneath one of the videos and said, Packy. And I was like, chill out, mate.
It's out of order, isn't it? You know, it's does that annoy you? Does that affect you? Like, would you get annoyed at that? Did you reply to him? You get stuck in. I've seen a few of your tweets. You have a go at people.
No, I just said to him I'm Sri Lankan, and he looked a little bit like Gary Glitter, so I made reference to that and kind of called it a day, and Twitter done the rest.
That's what you have to do. You have to embarrass them. I like to do it. I've got a pretty decent fan base, so I like to give. If someone's giving me grief, I'll say something, and then my support takes over, and I just kill them.
Sometimes the best thing to do, and it shows you obviously you have got support. And then 2 days ago, someone said that the quicker I'm shipped off to Sri Lanka, the better.
Was it the same guy?
It's a different guy. I was like, who shipped off to Sri Lanka? That's such an old school term, isn't it? We do kind of use a plane now.
Yeah, I know, but it's just I don't know what people are mad, and they're like you can say what you want on social media. That's the problem with it a lot of the times, but don't take it to heart, big man, or just a couple of dickheads.
I don't take it to heart. Supremacist. There we go. We got it going. All right. Let me ask your opinion, finally, on MTK Global recently announced a huge deal with ESPN to show all their shows on the US platform. That is great for all the fighters.
Insane, really. It gives, big fighters and all fighters, really, at MTK, massive opportunity, massive exposure. I think that I see somewhere that ESPN Plus have 2 million subscribers, over 2 million subscribers, something like that, which is big numbers, and it's only going to continue to grow. So it's a huge platform for all. And you look at what MTK and what they've done in the last few years. They've gone from strength to strength, and they've signed some pretty big fighters, and they're doing these big deals with Top Rank and BT and Warren and ESPN, and yeah, it's great for anyone involved with MTK.
Somebody actually put out the list of fighters kind of Top Rank have now, and obviously across ESPN, etc. But the list of Top Rank fighters in their stable now is actually very, very, very strong.
They're one of the biggest boxing, well, probably are the biggest boxing promotional outfit in the world at the minute. And you've got a few to choose from. Obviously, Top Rank, Golden Boy, Matchroom, Warren. These are big promoters, but I'd say, you know, Top Rank and Bob Arum are probably the top one at the minute, and they have been for a while. You know, Arm's been doing it for I don't know how many decades, for a long time, and I feel like they're the best outfit in the business.
And obviously Eddie Hearn and DAZN, new on the market, only been into boxing for the last 6 months or 7 months.
I think it's all good for boxing. You know, it's good competition. You look at the talk of the money that's floating about for the big men, and it's like, it was only 3 or 4 years ago we were talking about boxing potentially being dead, and now these boys are getting paid astronomical money. Like, it's serious money, and in one way it's good that there's so much money around in these different platforms, but then you've got the guys who are on different platforms only been offered 30 million and saying, "No, well, I'm not going to take that fight. It's not enough money." It's insane, but it is what it is, and I think it's a very healthy, like, it's very healthy for the boxer at this point in time. They can be rewarded well at the top end.
Deontay Wilder was rumoured to being offered and turned down a $100 million 3-fight deal with DAZN recently. I saw some quotes from him last night saying that he kind of wants to do his own thing, wants to be his own boss, but £100 million, whatever weight category you're in, yeah.
But he maybe looks at a 3-fight deal with DAZN is £100 million or dollars. Yeah, he's probably looking at that thinking the Anthony Joshua fight alone, which could be the last one on a 3-fight deal, is worth $80 million. It's just staggering amounts of money floating around at the minute, and I don't think for a second that Deontay Wilder is afraid of Fury or AJ or vice versa. Any other guys are afraid of each other, but they're being advised by people, and they'll do whatever they think will make them the most money. And if he's turning down $100 million for a 3-fight deal, he must think he can make more somewhere else.
But actually, talking to Eddie Hearn about this over the last week or so, and I think he's been kind of told not to make any comment on the Wilder situation while Wilder was negotiating with DAZN because he didn't want to make anything worse. And you're all kind of one of these fighters a few years ago that kind of did your own thing, and you kind of resisted advances for fights. And was that down to because of how Eddie Hearn's approach was?
I was probably a little bit of that involved in it, and I think you want to talk about prime example the fight with me and Quigg when the check, that was embarrassing. I don't know what Eddie thinks about that now at this point in time, but he probably looks back going, it was a bit cringeworthy. But the average Joe, and what they were trying to do was make the average Joe go, hold on a minute, a million pounds are being offered, and they're saying no to us. But I knew the fight was worth more than that, than it was in the end. So, yeah, that's probably a wee part to play in it. I wonder how he feels about that. That was a bad move, wasn't it? Made the fight eventually, but yeah, that was a bad move.
I'm actually going to ask him about that next week. And what do you think about? Because, like I said, there has been a look. Khan eventually come over to Matchroom, but Khan spent a lot of time and Eddie kind of backbiting, and the reason why the Kell Brook fight. I mean, the Kell Brook fight still didn't happen now, but there's a few select fighters out there that kind of Yeah, I think Eddie's approach has maybe worked negatively towards kind of getting a fight done or them signing for him.
He's a brilliant promoter. Have to give him credit. One of the best in the business. But if you're on the other side of the fence, then it's easy to see why he could upset people.
IFL actually had a little part to play that no one knows about, which I'm not going to speak about, in your fight happening.
What, with Quig?
Yeah.
Go on. You tell me off camera?
I'm going to tell you off camera, yeah, but there was a point in the negotiations which turned because of something to do with IFL TV.
Really? See, I don't even know about that, so it'll be interesting to see what you have to say.
People are going to wonder what it is now. But yeah, I'll tell you off camera. I'll tell you off camera. It's not really a conversation I can have with you on camera. So it's pointless me saying this because it's going to piss everyone off. But I'll tell you off camera.
All right, and then I'll tell them at a later date what KUGAN told me. I won't.
Carl Frampton, thank you very much for talking to IFL TV. And yeah, Del, we're going to do another little clip now, kind of talking about what you're going to be announcing in the next couple of days. But people will have to wait for that one.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. Well, we'll do that now. So turn the camera off.
Thank you very much. KUGAN CASSIUS back here with Carl Frampton. Carl, just been announced. Huge news for you.
Humongous news.
Tell us all about it.
I've done a deal through MTK with Top Rank and ESPN. Massive, like for me personally, huge. I'm excited about it. Very, very excited about it.
How long has this been a discussion for?
A number of weeks. But I think we've done pretty well to keep it quiet. There hasn't been too much kind of leaked or hinted at online. A little bit of stuff been talked about, but I've kept it very quiet myself personally. And but it's massive. It really is. It's given me a big opportunity to, I think, get back. I believe we're going to win a world title, and it's given me, teaming up with ESPN, Top Rank, and MTK, I think that there's more of a chance of that happening now than there was 6 weeks ago.
What's kind of the plan then, moving forward, in terms of fights, which obviously you couldn't speak about in our last interview?
Yeah, well, we're still discussing that at the minute. We've got potentially maybe having a fight, a fight against a good fighter, not one of the world champions, but against a good fighter, and then potentially Valdez after that. So that's an option if it comes up and arises that I fight Valdez straight away, my first fight back, then I'd be happy to do that as well. But there are two of the options.
Is it, or can you disclose how many fights this deal is over?
I know how many it is, but I'll ask my team before I can say whether I can disclose that or not. But it's an amazing deal, especially coming off. You're getting a deal like this that I've got. I would talk about financially here. Off the back of a win, you're very, very happy with it. But coming off a loss, credit to MTK for getting me this deal. It's insane, I think, for coming off a loss. And at one point there, a few months ago, I was genuinely thinking about retiring.
All right, well, listen, congratulations. Yeah, huge news. And yeah, we look forward to kind of further announcements on this.
Thank you very much.
All right, top man.
Cheers, mate.